Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. I hope you are as excited as I am to take a look at the Cold Steel FinnWolf. Now, this is a knife that's been around for a while, and actually, just a second, we're going to get a little bit of elevation here. There we go. This is a knife that's been out for a while, but this is, I've only been experienced, what am I trying to say? I don't English sometimes. You would never guess that it's my native language. The past few months have been the first time that I've experienced this knife. This was actually sent into the channel by Old Tonto Guy, a longtime viewer, good friend of the channel, and a channel member. Thank you so much to him for sending this in. This is a knife that I have always been interested in, but for one reason or another just never got my hands on. And he sent this to the channel, and I really, really appreciate that because this is a very, very cool knife. All right, let's go ahead and get this review started with measurements. All right, so blade length, we're looking at a little bit over 3 1/4 inches, right? Probably 3 3/8. Yeah, it looks like 3 3/8. And just shy of 8 inches on the overall length. By the way, let me know what you guys think about using the tape measure. I realized the other day I was filming something, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I just go get a tape measure? Because normally what I do was, I've had these nice little rulers. I would just measure the sharpened edge and the overall. I mean, let's do the sharpened edge right now because we didn't do that. Sharpened edge coming in here at... That kind of looks like it was almost wanting to say 3 1/2 inches. That was weird. Yeah, sharpened edge coming in here a little bit over 3 1/4. Pretty close to what the blade length is. Anyways, I've used these. I've just measured sharpened edge and blade length because, I think those are important for like legality reasons and use reasons. But I've been working on a project, so I had my tape measure in my room instead of in my toolbox in the garage. I was like, yeah, well, I'll use a tape measure. Let me know what you guys think of that. That was a little bit off topic, but let's go ahead and reel myself in. Let's start with our size comparisons. Here is against the Rats. Kind of a nice in-between size on the Rats, but the FinnWolf is kind of a tall knife. I didn't really realize it through use, but seeing it on the table here now with the Rats, I'm realizing, oh, it's kind of tall. Bring out the Praxis. Look at that. Couple of blue knives. Aren't those sexy? And here's our Elementum. Very cool. Very, very cool. We got a lot of blue on the table, so I'm happy. Love me some blue. And let's get some more blue out with our Spyderco PM2 and our Benchmade Bug Out. Nice. And let's end our size comparisons by bringing out a bunch of Cold Steels, because you guys knew I was going to. I love Cold Steel, and so we're going to compare it against a lot of Cold Steels. Here's the 8015, probably my favorite knife ever. And here's the 8010, another favorite of mine. The FinnWolf is a more regular sized knife for Cold Steel. It's smaller it's a small knife by Cold Steel standards, but it's kind of average size by everyone else's standards. Cold Steel is the brand that your girlfriend tells you not to worry about. Let's go ahead and compare it here against the Finn Hawk for obvious reasons. These are in the same family. And our last knife we're going to compare against is the Code 4. There we go. Very, very cool. Speaking of the Finn Hawk, the review for this knife will be coming out next week. So definitely keep an eye out for that. All right, what are we looking at here for our materials? Well, our blade, AUS 8 steel. Nothing fancy, but at this price, pretty cool. We've got FRN, or what does Cold Steel call this? Grivex, something. It's plastic. And the Triad lock with a steel clip. This is running on phosphor bronze washers, as you might expect. Let's go ahead and go cut some stuff. Hey guys, ready to do some review cutting? I sure am. Taking a look at the Cold Steel FinnWolf today, and real quick, a little bit unusual, but I'm actually going to tell you guys exactly where I'm doing today's review cutting. I thought it was fitting to come out and do it in the mountains, in the woods, Scandi grind, woodworking. You get the idea. Bushcraft, all that. Taking this view. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm on Alamo Peak, which is a high point in the Sacramento Mountains. I don't think it's the highest point. Might be, but it's close. But this is Alamo Peak. Way, way out there, those mountains in the very furthest back. I'm not even sure if they'll show up on camera. Those are the Oregons. You can see the Franklins down there. Did a whole lot of adventuring today. Really, really beautiful stuff. Let's see, sun's kind of in the way. But right there, that is the Alamo Peak Observatory. So for looking at the stars and stuff. And I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it here. I can see it. Over there is Apache Point and Sunspot. If you ever have a chance to drive through the Sacramento Mountains, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend visiting the Sunspot Observatory, the Apache Point Observatory. Really, really cool stuff. A lot of really important astrophysics research is done in this area. And this Sunspot Highway, the scenic highway that goes through here, they turned it into a scale model of the solar system, which is really awesome. So you can drive from the Sunspot Observatory to Cloudcroft, and they'll have little signs marking out, like, you know, Earth, Mars, Uranus, all those. Why did I choose Uranus? You know why. Anyways, marking out all the planets. I think they've got one of Jupiter's moons, too, if I remember right. But really, really cool. It's an awesome little thing. Definitely worth doing. But today we're taking a look at the cold steel FinnWolf. What a cool little knife. It's a very unique knife, but I love it. It's a cold steel. I like a lot of cold steels, right? When was the last time we had a negative cold steel review? Has it ever happened? Have I ever reviewed a cold steel that I didn't like? Or at least, I mean, I like some cold steels more than others, but I think I've liked every single cold steel I've ever reviewed. I'm a cold steel fanboy, what can I say? And cold steel, they know what we want. They know what to give us, and, you know, they've got a formula, they stick to it, and it's a good formula. You know, they don't do anything that's like, you know, earth-shattering most of the time. They do some really cool stuff, but they know what they want to give us. This here is one of their more unique pieces, not just for cold steel knife, but for pocket knife in general. A folding bushcraft Scandi ground blade. It's not something you see all the time. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Start off with the ergonomics. Ergonomics are good. They are good. I wouldn't say they're like mind-melting, right? But they're good. They work for what this knife is intended for. The ergos are very neutral. You do have this little thing that curves down here, but I mean, I think there's enough room on there for a lot of hand sizes. I can feel the clip every once in a while, but overall the ergonomics, really, really good. I'd probably give this a B+ for ergonomics, so I like that a whole lot. Let's talk about that action. Obviously, this features cold steel's triad lock. I got bit today, guys. Features the triad lock. We're going to do this like this so that I don't get bit again. Running on washers. Very smooth, consistent. You can flick it out. Great thumb studs on here. They give you a little bit of chamfering so you can get to the stud. And yeah, very good action. If you're used to cold steels, it's an action you're going to be familiar with. You're probably going to enjoy it. If you're used to bearings and things and you like, you know, your snappy detents and all that, not going to be the thing for you, but not every knife has to have that, right? By the way, look at the polish on this blade. Like, a couple times it's like blinding me. Yeah, gosh dang. Anyways, how does it carry? Well, it folds up to a nice little compact package. We've got FRN scales. It's not super heavy. The clip is reversible, something Cold Steel is great at, so I appreciate that. This is a completely ambidextrous knife. And the clip is a very basic kind of clip. However, it works, right? It's not a deep carry clip. Not every knife has to be deep carry. There you go in the pocket. As far as Cold Steels go, this is one of their better clips. The texturing on the FRN is not, going to tear up your pockets. The tension on a clip is actually really, really nice. So I appreciate that a whole lot. As far as Cold Steel clips go, they struggle sometimes. This is a good one. Let's go ahead and cut some stuff. So like I was talking about, Scandi grind, not something you see on folding knives all the time. This is AUS 8 steel. Let's go ahead and grab my box. We have a new box, guys. We got new cardboard. If that doesn't just make you super excited, I don't know what to tell you. All right, let's go ahead and cut this. Whoops. That was my bad. Scandi grinds cut very interestingly. We'll go do some more woodwork, and we'll probably talk about this more during the review. But very unique feeling when you're cutting, and not necessarily in a bad way. But I mean, this blade is more of a chisel. It still works, as you can see. Like, let's see if I can even hold on to this one good enough. It cuts and slices very, very well. This is a very, very slicey knife, but it does feel a little bit different. And again, we'll talk more about that. Okay, let's go ahead, do our rope pull. Oh man, that felt beautiful. And I bet it's going to do great on the push cuts too. Let's go ahead and find out. Oh man. Yep. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Scandi grinds are great for working rope. There we go. All right, let's get our pool noodle out here. I'm kind of curious to see how this does. See that in there and how messed up that is? That was the Gerber Minnesota that did that. Horrible, horrible knife. We'll cut on this end. It's a little bit better. Whoa. Okay. Let's go thin. Okay. Yeah. So, not terrible. As you can see here, we did cut, right? That one I went thick. This one we kind of snagged there at the end, and that's because the edge cut into the pool noodle beautifully, and then we're just wedging apart the pool noodle. Foam is not a material that you want to wedge apart. When you're wedging foam instead of slicing it, you're looking for trouble. It just causes all kinds of issues and complications. Your blade gets stuck and bound up. So, not the greatest pool noodle cutting that we've ever seen, but it's kind of inherent to the design, so don't hold it against it. Take another look at that sweet little knife, and let's get back to the table. All right, let's do some woodwork. Look at this little sickle stick. I'm sorry. All right. I think we should probably do this with you guys looking at the stick. That'd probably be helpful, right? What do we want to do? Maybe not this stick. I'm not going to go very far looking for sticks because we're not going to be doing a whole lot of wood with this one. We're going to be doing more wood processing with the fixed blade. But let's go ahead and just see what this knife is capable of. Wasn't planning on doing this, but might as well. Woo. that looks nice. So let's get this guy here. Yeah, this thing eats wood for breakfast. Let's go ahead and work on some notching, just because. It's a pretty good notcher. I mean, are we really surprised? I hope you're not, because I'm not. And we are back. Let's go ahead and get into what I'm liking and not liking about this knife. Number one, I love the idea of this knife. This is so cool. Cold Steel took a traditional pattern of a knife, you know, the Scandinavian bushcraft knives. Those are a very classic, very old style of knife, and they turned it into a folding knife. So they took what was generally a fixed blade knife, right? Turn it into a folder. You don't see very many folders that have this a Scandi grind, or honestly, you don't see very many folders that have a complete straight back either. A lot of folders are drop points or things like that. We have very classic lines in the handle. I just love what this knife is about. During the review cutting, I said that Cold Steel is, you know, they stick to what they know and give us, you know, what we want. And I kind of want to expand on that because I think I didn't really make myself clear. I wasn't saying that Cold Steel doesn't innovate. What I was saying was that Cold Steel knows their fan base really well. They know what the people who buy their knives want, and they are more than happy to give it to them. But Cold Steel also does do quite a bit of innovation. They do a lot of experimentation with locks and stuff. You know, they've got the Atlas lock out right now that they've been, you know, really pushing, experimenting with. But this knife in particular stands out because it's not just unique in Cold Steel's lineup. It's kind of unique in the whole knife industry. And I really appreciate that, and I like seeing companies do weird things. And even though this is weird, it's not necessarily outside of Cold Steel's wheelhouse, because it still has kind of the same mission statement. It's an outdoor folder. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Performance, fantastic. Scandi grinds are really, really interesting. This is a knife that I think would be excellent to take with you backpacking or camping or something. It's a very useful knife. Great size. You know, I can get a full grip on here. I'm sure someone else can too. But as far as an EDC knife goes, I enjoyed carrying this. Now, I'm not sure that I would want all my EDC knives to be Scandi grinds, but the Scandi grind definitely is a very slicey design. You get an incredibly sharp edge and a unique cutting experience. I'm going to tell a story real quick. A while back, one of my roommates had a party. A bunch of people were over watching a basketball game, and we had some pizzas. And towards the end of the night, I'm cutting these pizza boxes up to dispose of them, and one of the guys that was there, he walks by and he sees me slicing these boxes. He says, "Holy cow, that's a sharp knife." And I said, "Well, you know, don't have much use for a dull knife." He kind of laughed about that. He's showing me his pocket knife, and it's a pretty piece of trash Imtech. Dull as a butter knife. And he says, can I take a whack at it?" I was like, "Sure." So I hand him the knife, and he's cutting the cardboard, and he tells me, he's like, I have never felt anything like that. This was just blazing through the cardboard. And I think that's partially because the knives that he typically carries aren't that sharp very often. I did sharpen his M-Tech for him that night, but I actually suggested that he buy one of these because they're super affordable. He asked me how much this costs, and I told him, you know, they're pretty affordable. You should get one. But I think the other thing too was that when you're cutting with a Scandi grind, there is a different feeling. And I'm going to try my best to explain it right now. And I've tried to explain this in the past, and it hasn't come out that great, but we're going to go for it here. So basically, a Scandi grind is an elongated chisel, right? This whole thing is your edge bevel. Comes down to basically a 0 grind, right? And so what happens is you have a very thin, very sharp, acute apex here. That bites. That does all your cutting. That bites into your material. And this was illustrated nicely when we were working with the pool noodle at the review cutting. That bites very, very well. But then after you bite into a material, it's immediately being wedged apart by the rest of the blade here. This part of the Scandi grind really doesn't do much because by the time this wedge separates material, it's past the Scandi grind. Or it's past the flats of the blade, right? And so what you're doing is you're wedging the material apart really, really drastically as you're cutting. And sometimes this works really nicely on cardboard. Sometimes it doesn't work nicely, like if you're trying to make a very, very long cut. But it does give you a unique cutting feeling. And if we compare that to something like this Code 4, when I cut into something, that material is still hugging my blade. It's still touching my blade all the way up to here and going through. With the Scandi grind, I mean, your material is not touching the blade anymore once it passes here. So it's kind of a hard thing to explain, but for any of you that have handled Scandi grinds, you know what I'm getting at. And that's what makes them so good at processing wood because, again, very sharp, very acute apex. You bite into the wood, and then you split the wood, basically. You chisel it away. You separate it. You're wedging the wood away from the rest of the material. And it does give you a very unique cutting experience. Maintenance on Scandi grind is actually pretty easy because you just have to basically just set this whole bevel against your stone or your strop or whatever, your rods, and that gives you your angle. It's pretty easy to keep up with. I actually do need to do some maintenance on this edge. Let's focus. You can see we've got a little bit of some damage there. But yeah, very, very interesting. Again, for like outdoor applications working with wood, Scandi grind is great. We spent a lot of time talking about the blade. The blade works really well. The AUS 8 steel, I'm not upset with. Cold Steel does a good job with their heat treat. Taiwan typically does really good with their heat treats. If you're, looking at an AUS 8, this is probably the best that you're gonna get. And at the price point, this performance is nothing amazing, but at the price point, it's completely not just acceptable, but very good. Triad lock. We have the Triad lock. You don't need me to tell you why the Triad lock is awesome. A lot of strength. It's really cool that Cold Steel puts, basically what they're most famous for on some of their more affordable models. Let everyone experience it. It's really good. I think this is a great lock for a knife like this that, you might be using a little bit harder. Action is very, very good. Dual thumb studs. Very comfortable thumb studs. I like that you have this little chamfer here to get to those thumb studs. It's a nice little detail that they took into consideration. This knife is completely ambidextrous. This pocket clip can be flipped from one side to the other. Yay, lefties. Cold Steel is really good about taking care of our lefty brothers and sisters, so, no shocker there, but it's always something to be applauded because not everyone, takes into consideration the lefties. By the way, something I want to mention real quick, FinnWolf. It's a badass name. I love it. It's very, very cool. Let's go ahead and talk about the ergonomics. I think they're fine. I think they're great. We do have very slight contouring to these scales, and yeah, ergonomics work nicely. So I appreciate that. We'll come back to the ergonomics in a little bit, but I do like the overall profile, and in the hand, they don't feel bad at all. You do have a lanyard hole here, kind of awkwardly placed, but I think some people are going to appreciate that. And honestly, on a knife of this kind, I can see why a lanyard, might be something that you want to have. Alrighty, is that all the positive? Oh, okay, one thing we're going to mention real quick, the blue. I love the blue. You can get this knife in a bunch of different varieties. This is probably the most colorful cold steel pocket knife that I've ever handled. So that's pretty awesome. Handled, and we're talking about that. That was stupid, but yeah, that's cool. That's really, really cool. Okay, negatives. T6 hardware, you know, always gotta point that out when I can. And the ergonomics, they're fine, but I do think they could be better. There are some sharp edges in here. I can feel the clip sometimes when I'm really bearing down. This little hook here might not be appreciated by folks that have very large hands, but that's obviously not me, so I'm fine. But yeah, really, those are probably my only complaints. So let's go ahead and talk about my final conclusions. I know, those are my only complaints. Gosh, reviewing cold steels is so easy. Because cold steel consistently gets a lot of things right. And with this knife here, you know, there maybe are some things I could complain about, like, you know, some of the fit and finish on the edge of some of the plastic, you know. Focus up, camera. Is not the greatest, but then you think about the price of this knife. I've seen these knives right now. I looked a bunch of different places, anywhere from like 20 bucks to 30 bucks. Absolutely fantastic. You're getting a lot of knife for your money. I am not complaining about that whatsoever. Also, something I forgot to mention is the clip on this knife is actually good. I should have commended that. Cold steel, my least favorite cold steel clip of all time is on the Spartan. This knife does not go in and out of the pocket easily at all. But this is a good clip. This is a good clip. This knife actually does work as a pocket knife, so that's awesome. But yeah, can I recommend this knife? Abso-frickin-lutely. This is a very cool knife. I really enjoyed this knife. Carrying this knife for EDC was a very unique experience. I always like the opportunity to carry cold steels. This is the most EDC sized cold steel I've reviewed in a long, long time. Most of my cold steel knives, I do have a lot of the bigger ones because most of them are big. I need to review the Airlight at some point. I'm very interested in taking a look at that knife. But yeah, very, very cool knife here. I got a comment the other day. Someone asked me, in my opinion, what the best brand that I'd ever worked with, partnered with, collaborated with was. And I told them, well, I haven't done, you know, a whole lot of collaborations, you know. A couple companies have sent me knives and things, but I don't have, you know, enough experience in that realm to really say anything on that. And they said, oh, okay, well, what's a company that you wish you could work with? Cold steel. All day, every day. I don't think I have ever given a negative cold steel review. And maybe it's because I'm a fanboy, but there's a reason I'm a fanboy, right? Cold steel just consistently gets things right. Again, they know what they're doing. They know what they're setting out to give the knife world, and they give it. I put a lot of stock into durability and performance, right? I've reviewed several knives that I did not like the looks of at all, but I appreciate the fact that they worked as a tool and that they were built well. There's a lot of knives I reviewed where I love the looks, but they did not work well as a tool, and the build quality wasn't good, and I did not like the knife as a result. Honestly, I've also reviewed a lot of knives where maybe they're not the most exciting thing ever, but as long as they function and do what they set out to do, I typically give them positive reviews, right? I've had people comment on videos of mine before saying, you know, how could you give this a good review? That knife is hideous, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You know, oh, that's a cheap Camillus. How could it get a good review? Because it performed well, right? And that's, to me, that is my highest requirement. And Cold Steel consistently performs well. And they have been doing so even after they were bought by GSM. I reviewed a couple of GSM era Cold Steels, not a whole lot. I'm gonna try and get some more. And so far they've been working out just fine for me. So yeah, Cold Steel is definitely a brand that I'm a huge fan of, and I think they fit my ethos and my lifestyle more than most other brands. Whether I'm cowboying, you know, home on the ranch, or whether I'm doing field work or something, Cold Steel they build knives that are suited for what I do, and I really appreciate that, and this knife is no different. This is a very cool knife. This is a very unique knife. I'm a big fan of this knife, and it's very affordable, which just ties it all up in a ribbon, and the Cold Steel FinnWolf 100% gets a recommendation from me. So thank you to Old Tonto Guy for saying this into the channel. Speaking of Old Tonto Guy, thank you to my channel members at the cowboy level. Here they are. If you want to be a channel member, click the link down below. You can join up. Also, by the time you're seeing this video, my 3,000 subscriber giveaway will have already happened. So if you are a member that joined since then at the cowboy level and you're not seeing your name on the screen, don't worry, I'll get you in the next videos I upload. I'm recording this before the 3,000 subscriber giveaway though, so, you know, this is past Gideon talking to future you guys. If you don't see your name yet, don't worry, you will in future uploads. But yeah, as for everyone else, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. And the next review is going to be the Finn Hawk. So we're going to be kind of continuing today's conversation with this guy. So I'm pretty excited about that. You guys have a great day. Adios.